started. Welcome to the Christian Education Cafe podcast. I'm Dr. Althea Penn, your host, and we equip and empower Christian educators and school leaders with the information and tools that are needed to foster development and competence in their students, their the families they serve, as well as their colleagues. And so thank you tonight for joining us. Grab a hot beverage or coffee, tea, and just relax with me tonight. I have one of my friends. She is a edupreneur, if I've ever seen one. And if you didn't catch that word, she's an educator, education school leader, but she's also a phenomenal entrepreneur. And she's a networker. I mean, extraordinary. She brought her community together and developed a farm to school program, a whole early learning program that ministers to the community there, serves that community. I mean, she's brought together the cooperative, um, the technical schools. I mean, so many organizations, and maybe she'll share a little bit of that with us tonight. But welcome, Arbendette, the founder of PreK Preparatory Early Learning Academy in Gainesville, Georgia. How are you tonight, Arbendette?
I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah.
Well, I tell
And
you
how
what,
are you?
I am well. Thank you for asking. And, that is our confession. We're going to stick to it.
Okay.
But really, we really are well because we were just talking about before we started the broadcast or this episode that we are living the things we prayed for and dreamed of years ago. And
Yeah.
I was mentioning how you came into this industry with 24 years of experience in the accounting industry, specifically in AR. That's hard. I served in that industry for about 4 years. Couldn't do it too long. But for 24 years, you were doing that.
Mhm.
What inspired you to start a preschool?
Well, my degree is actually in early childhood education. And I left early childhood in order because there was more money on the other side for a while. Um, and I stayed there a long time. But in the meantime, I did have a home daycare center. And I went to Bible school. I thought I was supposed to go somewhere and be a preacher. And then I got moved to California. And I remember praying to God, going, I know I did what you told me to do. He said, no, you didn't. I didn't tell you to go to school like that, but I'm going to use that. And so now, after being in accounting all that time, knowing I don't have that 8 a.m. accounting personality,
Yeah,
that I
that
had to
takes,
go somewhere where I can be me and be happy. And. So yeah,
yeah.
so now I
And I
get
can
to use
hear,
it all.
yeah, I can hear it in your voice, that joy of being in the center of God's will, doing what He's called you to do. But it's wonderful how we can take those different roads to get to where He wants us to be. And He
Mm-hmm.
uses it all. I believe in Ephesians chapter 1, He says He works it all after the
Yes,
counsel of
yes,
His own will. His purposes is going to be fulfilled in our lives when we're surrendered to Him. And that
yes,
you are. I can
yes.
see all of that being used today because you definitely have the business acumen. And
Mhm.
then you have that side, the early ed side, and then you bring that together with cultivating spiritual formation and faith development in young learners. And I love the way that you're doing it. Not only are you implementing like the JELS, the Georgia Early Learning Standards, but you saw the importance of nature based learning, specifically gardening. And that
Mhm.
touches my heart because I grew up in an agricultural community. And then the Bible's rich with agricultural imagery from the Garden of Eden to the parable of the sower. So, how
Mhm.
can we draw inspiration from those Bible narratives and, bring it into that developmentally appropriate learning environment for children?
Um, I find that telling the stories while you're in the garden makes a big difference, um, because right then you can make it hands on,
Yeah.
and you can tell the story while you're looking at the beauty of God. So, let's say we were teaching about the Garden of Eden. We can explore the garden because Adam and Eve not only walked with God in the garden, they were exploring the garden. They got to know the garden. They were told you could eat of every plant in the garden except for this one. So there
Yeah.
were lots of plants they had a chance to see. And when you think about Jesus, where he went in solitude, he went somewhere to pray. And so you tell the kids, there's some mint, there's some oregano. You're feeling however you're feeling. Why don't you get that? Take a seat and spend some time alone.
Yes.
Um, like when I was teaching them the 23rd Psalm, um, he lead me beside the still waters, and all of that. So we take them by the water and you look at the water running, you let them lay up, you look at the sun, and they really enjoy it. You'll look up and they're just laying back. What are you
Yeah.
doing? I'm looking
Yeah.
at, yeah,
And
they
I mean,
catch up really quick.
it's mentally and emotionally really healing to take in
Hmm.
the awe and the wonder of creation
Hmm.
and realize that we're created by the same creator that created these plants so intricately, so that, like you said, one can heal your emotions, like mint makes you feel cheerful, and oregano can boost your immune system. It's just
Hmm.
amazing. I tell you what, I'm so impressed with your taking 2, 3, 4 year olds out in the garden, planting seeds with them, and then seeing the pictures on YouTube of these big melons that are bigger than the kid's head or the squash or
Hmm.
whatever. I mean, that is just so fun. So, what lessons are they learning from tending the soil and nurturing the plants?
Wow. A lot of patience. Because they think if you plant it today, it's going to grow tomorrow. No, just like everything in life, everything has to be developed. Everything takes time if it's going to be done right.
Yeah.
They learn a connection to nature. Just because
Yes.
you see an ant don't mean you step on it. Take that
Yes.
worm, let's go put it in the compost. Watch
Yes.
what it does to our vegetables in the soil. There's just so much mindfulness, like we talked about earlier. Um, they get insight. Okay, now you can sit there and we can measure the plant. Right now it's 1 inch. Let's come back next week and see how it grows. Okay, now let's measure you. It's the same thing. And when God plants a seed, that's the way it grows. And so you get to
Absolutely.
teach them all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because I always talk to kids about, just how we're designed. We're designed to grow and flourish. God
Mhm.
really built us for that, right? And when we
Yeah.
deal with plants, a lot of times I use the example. I say you're either dying or you're growing or you're stagnant. And God can help you figure out why. Are you not getting
Mhm.
enough nutrients? Are you around the wrong, pestilence or things that are hindering your growth, and it's amazing. You could teach them so much, even just testing soil and what needs to be in the soil for a plant to grow.
Mhm.
And that's exciting to see you teaching it at such a young age. So was that hard to get started, or how did you get started?
Well, it wasn't hard. I had to start off with games because at the beginning, teachers were overworked, and we started right at the beginning of COVID. So you had to find a way to introduce something else while everybody else is staying home, and we were open all during COVID.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we started off with a weight loss challenge with the teachers. And it was interesting whenever we got to weigh in, though everybody was apprehensive, everybody wanted to lose the most weight. So that got us talking a lot more.
Yeah.
And then we started watching what we ate. If I'm on this weight loss challenge, I want to win the money. So we started
Yes.
watching what we ate. Okay, so it was
Wow.
like, okay, what's next, right? Um,
Such wisdom.
QCC, Quality Care for Children, had posted an ad. They were doing a pilot for Farm to ECE. And I'm like, okay, God, no. And so we applied for that. We got it. And so they gave us about $500 in a grant. With that, we bought bathtubs. Then, okay, these people are competitive. We were really competitive. So every classroom got a bathtub. Let's see who can grow, the biggest plant, something edible. And so that's how we really all got started. And to make it seem seamless, we just started putting books in the classroom about planting, about growing, about farming. And so they really didn't notice it at first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
I
they were
love it.
just involved.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love the way that you implemented best practices in business as well as in teaching. Showing that there's a need and creating that sense of urgency. During COVID, everyone was thinking about their health. And I just commend you because you guys stayed open and you were serving people that work with the people that were the sickest, people that worked at the hospital. right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just blown away. You had me at that. But then the idea of making the teachers have a what's in it for me,
Mhm.
win-win. Not only am I teaching this to my students, but I'm going to get healthier. I know you probably gave them some money because I
Yes.
mean, the government was throwing
You
all
know that works.
money at you guys during that time. And I just love that you don't back down for grants now. I remember when we first met, like years ago in director's training, you're like, oh, we can never write a grant. I can never write a grant. My teachers can't write grants. And I was like, yes, they can. I taught my teachers to write grants. Like, you can do it
Yeah.
too. And
Yeah.
now you see a grant and you're like, we're going to get on that.
I'm on it. Let me try it. So you'll
Have
get a
you
lot
had
of
any
no's. Take
problems?
another no.
Yeah, have you ever had any problems with the stipulations with the grants that, were too confining?
Not the ones that I applied for.
Yeah, you just see
Um,
one that, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Just get those that are trying that fits the mission that we have.
yeah,
We just
they'll
expanded the mission a little bit more so that we can, do that.
I tell
Yes,
you,
but
I'm so proud of you. I mean, oh, I'm so proud of you. I don't know what to do because I always tell people, I say, I have this client, I call you a client to them, but you're really a friend now. But I tell you, so I have this client that everything I asked her to do, she did it. Like her business plan, she really worked on getting a measurable mission statement and working that mission, casting a vision that was clear, concise, compelling, and people are jumping on that vision. You're getting partners all throughout the community. So was
Mhm.
that hard to get resources, volunteers, the funding together?
Um, it wasn't because it seemed like everything was happening at the same time. Um, when we got connected with Quality Care for Children, they connected us with Georgia Organics. Georgia Organics had a conference where we met people from Health and Power. Again, another 3-year grant. And so it was like all the connections that we were making,
Yeah.
they just had the grants that were available and they were actually willing to give it. And that was awesome. And they came into our program and they helped us out a lot.
Wow. Well, I just love that. I see the volunteers coming together to help you guys, and I see the kids. They're so excited. You're promoting holistic development, not only that faith-based component where they're able to, see nature and see that God created it, but their brain development, anytime they use that pincher grasp, those neural connections are being made and multiplied, brain um, neuroscience tells us that concept formation, problem solving, all of that is being promoted and developed when they're using their hands and they're out in nature just enjoying it. But you're
Mhm.
actually adding that learning component of growing fast vegetables and fruit, and that's wonderful. So how can educators integrate nature-based activities into the curriculum if they don't have like the books, or what can they do? Just where can they start?
Um, the library. That's where we started. The library delivered books to us every 30 days.
I love
So
it.
they'll drop you off this bucket and they'll come pick it up. They're looking for people to come in the library and get these books.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they even give you free books. Um, Advertise outside the business. Want a book? Take a book. Get some of your old books, put them out there, ask parents to bring new ones. The
Yes.
more we were talking to parents, we found out that some of our parents had people in their family that garden. So they came over and they were helping us with that. And it was interesting that the more involved we got, the more things just came to us.
Yeah.
Um, we at one point we had to hire a teacher, and this guy was a physical trainer. Okay, so we are working on the eating. Now, your job is to do all the outside stuff. You're to keep the kids running and active all
I
day.
love it.
It was great. The kids loved it. And then this guy, Andre Durrell, he's a professional boxer. He heard about us and he came and volunteered for 6 months. It's just been one thing after another that's just been feeding the program for us.
Wow. So have you seen
Yeah.
improvements in everyone's health and well-being? The
Yes.
students, what about their behavior?
Um, that's something I need to do a better job of measuring.
Mhm.
Because for the most part, I think things are really going well. But
Yeah.
something happened during COVID. Um, we ended up with a lot of children who had not been diagnosed yet,
Yeah.
and not being versed in that for our teachers they didn't major in it, and
Mhm.
so. we had to go back and start working on some other things. But
Yeah.
we know for sure that our children request water. We know
Yeah.
that right now, if I can put a bunch of fruits and vegetables on the table, they're going to make their own juice because
Yeah.
we have our juicer right there. The only thing is you got
Wow.
to pick up one vegetable. They make their own juice. They will
That-
request water more often than not. They go meatless twice a week, don't know the difference.
wow.
So they don't know. It's just routine. It's just what they do.
I am
Yeah.
so excited
Uh,
about the
Thank
fruit.
you.
You've got to keep some data because I remember back in 2000, there were a lot of students that were coming into the schools with autistic symptoms, and they had not been diagnosed. And
Mhm.
some of them had, and they were on these medications. And I just knew there was something wrong with some of the medications. And so there were studies and little things coming out, like Holly Pete was coming out about her child having shots and then becoming autistic or whatever. And so I really started talking about eating more raw fruits and vegetables, taking the dyes out of the food, the processing. And we did, we saw a drop in challenging behaviors. We saw an increase in test scores from one year to the other just in changing the food. Like if the cafeteria would have normally served canned fruit, we replaced it with fresh fruit. Just those little changes. And even the teachers, I remember that was when I went off coffee and I noticed a lot of changes in my demeanor, my weight, everything, um,
Mm.
just from changing little things about our diet. And so I'm so encouraged by what you're doing. What were some of the challenges that you had, but you saw a reward that made it worth
Okay, I want to go back a minute. When you mentioned that question, it's funny because we've been working with this group, Health and Power, and
it?
they
Yeah.
do a survey at the beginning of the year and one at the end of the year. And our children are definitely requesting fruits and vegetables and eating more fruits and vegetables. That much we did look at. And when you said that, it reminded me of two kids that came in our 2-year-old room. They
Yes.
came in and they were getting services. Um, One of them, they just said he doesn't need it anymore. We don't know what we saw in the beginning. So I never
Didn't
considered
even think
anything
about.
other than the fact that oh he got better. But that is interesting. We're going to have to look into that a bit more because
Yeah.
when he came in, it was really different.
Sometimes
Um,
you can get so bogged down in the day to day that you forget those little wins. And I'm so, oh, so glad you remembered that. That one child
yeah.
was able to actually come off of his services, whether it was OT, speech,
Mhm.
or behavior, whatever, and not need to get services because of these changes. And you guys didn't even realize it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because they said some kids just get better at two. I think they call it 2-year-old phenomena or something. I don't know what that was, but I'm gonna have to look more into that. I am gonna have to. Okay, okay, interesting. And your question was, what challenges did we have? um, Initially, we wanted to focus on farmers of color
Yeah.
when we wanted to get local fruits and vegetables. We had a really hard time. We had a hard time finding farmers in our area altogether because those who deliver, no, you can go to a farmer's market, but the farmer's
Yeah.
market is during the hours we're open. But those who delivered, we were a small company. And to drive all the way over where we were cost a bit more.
Mhm.
So we couldn't get that for a while. So what we did is we called dairies and started having our milk delivered. So all during COVID, we didn't have a problem with our milk because our milk got there very early, when
Yes.
it was needed. Um, and then we end up meeting some local farmers, talking to the extension service, finding parents who knew how to garden.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
all of that came in and it all happened at the
Yeah.
right time. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so exciting. Well, I
Yeah.
am so excited about you, just everything that you're doing. Do you know of any resources you like to share with everyone? Or because you've already shared so many organizations, but any other resources that anything that we could do just to improve the well being of our little ones and get them out in nature to see the awe and wonder of their creator?
I would definitely say quality care for children. They changed the food program where it can, some of the monies they give you back, you can use it to buy stuff for your garden.
Wow.
Health and
I didn't
Power have a three. I'm sorry.
I didn't know that. I
Yep.
learned
Yeah.
something new every day.
Health and Power have a 3-year program, and they work first of all getting the children more physically active, helping you integrate it into your lesson plans, giving you lessons during taste tests. Small bites helped us out a lot. Um, so we've had a few organizations like that really came through.
Wow.
We partnered with another group called A Good 360. It's a group for nonprofits. We were
Mhm.
able to get everybody a rain jacket. Now, just because it's raining doesn't mean we have to stay inside. We go outside and play in the rain.
I
So,
love it. I love it.
yeah,
I love it. I love that. Rain jackets, boots. I love all that.
yes,
Playing in the rain with the children. That's really enjoying nature the way that we
yeah,
were created to, you know?
yeah, yeah.
I am just amazed. Well, any last thoughts as we get ready to close this episode? I'm just so appreciative that you joined me today and just so excited about what you're doing. And like you said, with we were talking about lessons the children learn from the garden about patience. You know, you're sowing seeds today that are going to bring forth a wonderful harvest. And I could just see students, leaving high school, going into college, and coming back to work with other children, wanting them to have that experience. I so wish my children and grandchildren had the experiences I had on my grandparents' farm. Um, there's nothing like that, just getting your hands in the dirt. They even talk about how
Mhm.
the microorganisms in the dirt help your immune system just from smelling.
Mm, walking in it, stepping in it,
Mhm,
grounding, all of that. Yeah,
mhm. That's
yeah.
amazing, just
Yeah.
amazing. Well, any
God knew what he
last,
was doing.
huh?
God knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. He really did when he created us. Yeah,
Yeah,
he really did.
yeah.
Well, any other
Everything.
last thoughts as we close out our episode tonight? This has been so informative, inspiring, and encouraging to me, just to hear that you're doing all of these wonderful things. I pray that your program just continues to flourish, and you as well. You are definitely in the center of God's will for your life. And I pray that He continues to bless you with all the resources you need, the staffing, the curriculum, everything that you need, to just continue to run that thriving program. Any other
I,
last thoughts?
I would just say stay connected to the organizations like Quality Care for Children, Health
Yeah.
and Power, Georgia Organics. Get connected, even if it's just to listen, because no matter what they say, I was sitting there with my pen and pencil trying to catch every resource that came my way. But there's a
That's what
lot
you
out
have
there.
to that's
Yeah.
what you have to do. And wherever you can find that missional alignment where
Mhm.
you're both um, serving those children and enriching their lives and advancing the kingdom of God, you want to do that. Well,
Yes.
I am so grateful for all that you're doing to advance the kingdom of God and kingdom education. I pray that the listeners will join me next month. Our episode is going to focus on teacher burnout prevention and
Ooh.
tips for educators, school leaders to implement before next school year begins, and to even implement now during the summer so they can achieve their teaching and learning goals. I just hope that all of our listeners found today's conversation informative, encouraging. If you enjoyed this episode of the Christian Education Cafe podcast, please consider leaving a comment on your favorite podcast app. And don't forget to share this episode with others who may be uh, interested in the information that was shared. So, to learn more about today's guest, please see the comments below. If this was inspiring and encouraging to you, like and subscribe it so you'll receive notifications of the next time that we're live. Until next time, continue to cultivate faith development in the lives of our youngest learners. God bless.